Mikey, that Tommy Collier, the creative director, he's pretty cool. He even had your voice vibrating there, Mikey.
Oh, great.
You didn't hear it?
No.
Wow, 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 wow. It was pretty cool. Well, I want to welcome you all back, and I want to recommend that you really let yourself get emotionally involved with this lesson. It has the ability to change your life. Now, there's some of it's going to be review, some of it's going to be different that I haven't hit you with yet. I want you to really think, though. And this lesson, understanding frequencies, is very powerful. And if we could get, there they go. I was wondering if they were working with me. I was flipping a switch and there's nothing there. But if you really get this idea of frequency, vibration, the law of attraction, you get that down pat and you start to understand it, and I guarantee your life will change. And it all starts out here. I don't know what's happening here. This is new, Tommy. What's going on? Very interesting. All right, we're going to go back. There we are. Now we got it all on. We're going to go back and we're going to take a look at what was thought about who we were and what we were capable of doing over the years. Now, we touched this yesterday. Go back before the atomic age. I was before the atomic age. I came along before the atomic age. Chemistry professors used to say that a person's worth, from strictly a chemical standpoint, was about $32 on the going market. Now, that doesn't do a whole lot for your self-esteem, does it? And then it started to change a little bit. Scientists now calculate that if the electronic energy in the hydrogen atoms of your body could be utilized, you could supply all of the electrical needs of a large, highly industrialized country for nearly a week. So, you know, when say, who's there? And they say, well, it's just me. Just me. God, old powerhouse himself, you know. Now, a DuPont scientist, this is back in the 50s, said that the atoms of your body contain a potential energy of more than 11 million kilowatt hours per pound. That's a pretty fair amount of power. By this estimate, the average person's worth about $85 billion. Not million, billion. So as we start to think of ourselves and think of ourselves strictly from a physical perspective, there's a whole lot going on here. Now look at this. Moreover, the electrons in the atoms of your body are not just particles of matter, they're waves of living energy. And these waves ripple out, spread themselves in patterns of light. And as they move, they sing. They not only sing, they shine. If you would stand in front of an infrared television camera in a completely dark room, the screen would show you from top to toe as a glistening, radiating, gleaming form. Now, I want to lead you to the path that this book has kept me on for the past 60 years. I don't know if there's anybody else alive that has studied this for 60 years. I study this little book every day. And I thank God that Napoleon Hill and Andrew Carnegie got together way back in 1903, because that's when the idea of this book really originated in their meeting. And there's so much in here. I mean, this is really a phenomenal piece of literature. It is probably one of the best personal development books that's ever been written. It's really pretty cool. So let's start thinking. I went from earning $4,000, and owing $6,000 in a matter of a year to $175,000. Now look it. I want you to go back and look. I was earning $4,000, I owed $6,000. And in a matter of a year, I went to $175,000. Now, I hadn't earned 175 in the year, but what was happening, I was working for myself. I was getting contracts, monthly pay. First contract I got was for $15, $30 a month. Wash the floor twice. Well, by the end of the year, I had contracts where I was bringing in $12,500 a month. If you annualize that, it comes out to $175K. Now, that was in a year. In less than 5 years, we were in 7 cities, in 3 countries, and I was doing over $1 million a year. How did I do that? I did that by doing exactly what my mentor told me and my understanding of the book. Now, I was showing you some of the copy that we heard of what the experts thought we were worth, from $32 to 85 billion. How did that happen? Well, they continually develop their awareness. They get a greater and a greater awareness. That's really what the whole deal is all about. Like, a person doesn't earn $100,000 a year because they want $100 a year. They're earning $100,000 a year because they're not aware of how to earn $100,000 a month. Now think about that for a moment. If a person's aware of how to earn $100 a month, they're not going to go for $100 a year. So it's all about awareness. We become more and more aware. Now, if you really want to win, get on one track and learn all you can about it. That's what I've done. That's what I've done. You see, I don't even think you have to be very smart to win. I don't think I was that smart, and yet I was earning $175 and up to $1 million. I wasn't that smart. I just focused on what I was doing, and that's what they told me. Organized information, intelligently directed. That's one of the principles in here. Organized information, intelligently directed. So as we go through here, I'm going to hit on things that I believe are super important that we deal with repetitively. Now, I think Albert Einstein was probably one of the brightest guys that ever lived. And he said something here that was pretty interesting. He said, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind's a faithful servant. We've created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Now think. As I started to study this, everything in my life started to change because this was focused. This is what my mentor told me. He said, look, what separates you from all the rest of the animal kingdom is your mental faculties. And he said, what you want to do is study them, understand them, and develop them. Now, one of them is perception. When you change your perception of a situation, the situation changes. You know? Change the way you look at something, what you look at changes. So perception is one of the very, very big ones. If we can blow this up, Tommy, then we can see it easier. So we got perception there. And then the next one we've got is memory. Do you know there's no such thing as a bad memory? Everyone has a perfect memory. Jerry Lucas, former basketball player, he was out in San Fran teaching people how to memorize the Bible. We had a psychiatrist over for a program we were running on Matrix, and from Saudi Arabia. He was a psychiatrist. He was teaching people to memorize the Quran. Now imagine memorizing the Quran with the Bible. Well, your memory's perfect. There's no limit to what we can do. If we're not using it properly, of course, it's not going to work very well. Then your imagination. Now, in this book, he'll say the imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, powerful force that the world has ever known. Imagination. And we've all got one. It was my imagination that really started this company the first time. I sat down in 1973 with a pad and a pen, and I wrote down, I'm going to build a company that operates all over the world. I had no idea how I was going to do it. Absolutely no idea. I didn't even have anybody working with me. I was it. But I knew I could do it because I could think it. And if you can think it, you can do it. Then you've got reason. Now that's what you think with. Now you see, these mental faculties are what separate you from the squirrels and the horses and the geese and everything else that's out there. I love the way Earl put it, Earl Nightingale. He said, all those little creatures are completely at home in their environment because they blend in. We're the only creature on the planet that's totally disoriented in our environment, and that is because we've got the mental faculties to create our own environment. Think. You've got intuition. Now here we're into the frequencies, vibrations. See, this is the mental faculty that'll pick a person's energy up and translate it into words in your mind. You do have the ability to pick up the vibrations coming, because there's waves of energy coming from other people. If you're with a person, let's say you're with a good friend, and instantly you feel a mood shift in them. How did you know there was a mood shift? It was your intuition. You know, when President John Kennedy asked Dr. Wernher von Braun what it would take to build a rocket that'll carry a person to the moon and bring back safely to Earth, the good doctor said, all you need is the will to do it. See, the will gives you the ability to hold one idea on the screen of the mind to the exclusion of all the outside distractions that are begging your conscious attention through your senses. Now, I have worked for many years at developing these areas in my life. I have a tendency to change the way I look at something when I first look at it, because I want to shift, I want to look at it from different angles. And when I do, things change. I'll give you a tip before we move on. Let's suppose you've got a problem, and you're trying to solve the problem, and you're having trouble with it. Take your pen and write out the problem as clear as you can write it in your own words. Then take and put it in the center of your desk or a table and look at it. Then go and sit on the opposite side of the table and look at it and say, how would Proctor look at this? How would he see this situation? Then maybe go sit at the end of the table and say, how would Albert Einstein have looked at this? And go around and think of different people. Do you know something? You're going to find that problem will start to solve itself in front of your eyes. It shifts. Well, you start using these higher faculties, and I'm going to tell you, they change your life. They'll change your life forever. See, it's all about the mind, your marvelous mind. Now listen, this, I said yesterday, I pointed this out yesterday, this is one of the most important parts of this. Your spiritual DNA is perfect. You know what that means? There's perfection within you. We talk about our potential. There's perfection within us. It requires no modification, no improvement. There's absolute perfection within us. We are spiritual beings. Now, spirit is all-knowing. If we're a spiritual being, we get all the knowledge in us. All the power. Spirit's all-powerful. And Spirit's ever-present. Now, what do we mean here? We get all the knowledge there ever was or ever will be. It's a matter of becoming aware of it. Think of it this way for a moment. Here. See this phone? Well, if we take this back to, let's say when I was a kid in school, they wouldn't have known what this was. And they wouldn't know how to use it. We didn't even have a phone. I mentioned that yesterday because there wasn't enough of them, didn't have the money. So all these things changed. It was awareness. See, the way to make these cell phones has always been here. But we didn't have the awareness. So we didn't have the phones. There was all kinds of people that didn't have a phone. Today, millions of people have a phone, and they all have their own frequency. So you see, you got to get this, and you got to think about this for a while. You are a spiritual being. And because you are a spiritual being, all the knowledge is within you. All the power is within you. Doesn't matter where you go because it's ever present. Now keep thinking. That's the real you. Now we ask, are you truly what or who you pretend to be? People wander around, they've got low self-esteem, they've got an idea they're not very good. If they could just see the truth about themselves. It's amazing how your world will change as you start to understand this. This is real. This is the real deal. Now, I'm going to run through this again because it's so important. This idea about the mind was brought to us by Dr. Thurman Fleet in 1934. The year I was born, he decided on this. He stated the mind is an activity. It's not a thing. No one has ever seen the mind. In order to gain clarity and eliminate confusion, he said, I'm going to create an image of the mind. See, nobody had ever seen the mind. Now think, when he made this image, he changed the whole world for a lot of people. He said, there's the mind and the body. The mind being the big circle, the body being the small circle. And then he took and he divided the mind into two parts, conscious mind, subconscious mind. And then he pointed out the mind expresses itself with and through the body. That is the instrument of the mind. Now, I have pointed out on many occasions, this is the most valuable idea I have ever learned, bar none. And the man that taught me told me it was the most valuable idea he had ever learned. And I can clearly remember when he showed it to me. I got it all mixed up. I had the conscious mind, subconscious on the top. I had it all mixed up. But he started to explain it. Now here's important. There's the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the body. Now look at the conscious mind is your thinking mind. That's the part that thinks. That's your educated mind. That's where you pump all the books in. And this is where the intellectual factors, that's where perception, the will, reason, imagination, memory, intuition, they're all resident in the conscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind operates, this is your emotional mind. You should learn how the emotional mind functions. It's very important. A lot of people get upset emotionally. Other people will upset them. Why? They're not in charge of their own mind, their own emotional mind. Now, this is the part here, the subconscious mind. It's totally different than the conscious. The conscious has the ability to choose, it can accept or reject, and it can originate ideas. See, if we back this up, it's where the intellect is resident. Now, this we have ability to choose in our conscious mind. And you also have the ability to accept or reject there, and if you reject, you can originate. Now, the subconscious doesn't have that ability. It must accept everything you give to it, because it has no ability to reject. It's just like open sesame. It cannot differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. Your subconscious mind will accept anything you give to it. Now, let's take this information and we'll set it all aside, keep it in our mind, and put ourselves and we'll say, here, this is us today. With that information. Now, here you're hearing all kinds of information. It's coming at you. It's coming to your conscious mind. It's bad information. It's going to do you a lot of harm. You get emotionally involved in this, and you're in deep trouble. All right. We can think, so we can say, "Get out of here. I'm not going to pay attention to that." But we don't do that. We do not say, "Get out of here." We don't do that. What do we do? Well, I'm going to tell you what 90-some% of the population do. They stop thinking. They leave the subjective mind wide open. And all that bad information goes right into the emotional mind. Why would they do that? They're programmed. That's the paradigm. They're literally programmed to do it. Now stay with me. Let's close the window on that for a minute and go over here. Here you are as an infant. The subconscious mind wide open. You can put anything in there you want. And all kinds of junk is going in there. It's going in there from everybody around you. It's just dumped into the subconscious mind. Now this is how the person's self-esteem is built. That's how the paradigm's built. Your paradigm's not all bad. The language you speak, you're programmed to speak it. I have an associate over in Kuala Lumpur. Had a little boy. That little boy could speak 4 languages when he was 4 years old. I was amazed with this. They thought nothing of it because he was surrounded by people that spoke 4 languages. So your subconscious mind will accept anything you give to it. Anything you give to it. And here we are, we're programmed. We're programmed. And that stays pretty well throughout our life. Very rarely does a person change the paradigm. See, when I went from earning 4 and owning 6 to 175, I broke the paradigm. I shifted my paradigm. And it just kept going up. Just kept going up. My subconscious mind would accept that, and all I was giving it was this. I had records on this. I would play records. I'll show you tomorrow. play it. I'll pull in the record that I used on a battery-operated record player, and I'd play that. I would listen to it over and over. I was consciously and deliberately selecting really good information. Now, what is a paradigm? It's a mental program that is almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And almost all of our behavior is habitual. Now think about that. It's a very powerful tool, and most people know little or nothing about it. Why? Why has that happened? Well, let's take a look here. School gave us valuable knowledge. However, school never taught us how to alter our paradigms. Therefore, we frequently don't do what we already know how to do. Superior knowledge, inferior results. Superior knowledge, inferior results. That causes confusion and frustration. Here, put the model up here again that we use. Let's take a look. They go to school and they collect all kinds of information. They pass exams that they remember it, and that's all in the conscious mind. But you see people who, we say they're very smart because they get all this information, but the results don't match the knowledge they've got. They're obviously brilliant. They've got these degrees, but the results don't match. Why? Why? Well, it's because it's not the knowledge, it's the paradigm that produces the results. And if they don't learn how to change the paradigm, the results don't change. When they learn how to change the paradigm, everything changes. Build a new paradigm. How do you build it? That's what we're talking about here. It's through repetition of this information. Now watch. Here we are here. There's the mind, okay, the body. There you change it. Conscious, subconscious, okay? Now look here for a moment. You can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, okay? Now they are antennae that are hooked up to our consciousness. And we're picking up information all the time. Remember I said the conscious mind was also the intellectual mind, and we had all those higher faculties? And we pointed out that our emotional mind was controlled by them. Well, there they are there. They're all there. But you know something? We have never been taught how to use them. And it's those tools that help us change the paradigm that's in the emotional mind. Never learned how to use them. Now, is there a penalty to pay for that? Damn right there is. Let's take a look. And we're talking about the mind. Let's stay here for a moment. Let each of these lines represent a level of vibration, okay? We refer to each level of vibration as a frequency. Your cell phone operates on its own frequency. We talked about that. We used it as an example because it's such a good one. If you and I are both on the same frequency, we become one, we can communicate, we can really make it happen. Now, everything you want has its own frequency. Think of that. Here, look. See this little sand timer? It has a frequency. See the glass? It has a frequency. The sand in the glass has a frequency. You want to know something strange? We took sand and we changed the frequency and we turned it into glass. That's what the glass is made out of. Now, the sand is energy. When we alter the vibratory rate of the energy that we call sand, we can turn it into glass. See, we have the ability to perform some pretty good magic. And what we want to understand, that whatever we want, when we become one with it, we start to attract it to us. Look at your present results. I want you to look at right now. You can only attract what you're in harmony with. Look at your income. Look at your income. If you're selling, look at your leads. Look at your sales. Look at any result in your life. It's all an expression of what's going on inside. We've got to grasp that. Energy attracts like energy. We literally attract it to us. We're magnetized. If you don't like what you're getting, pay attention to this. When a Rosh comes on and gives you an exercise, do it exactly the way he says. Listen, guy's very wealthy, earns millions of dollars. He studied this like a scientist for the past decade. He understands. When he gives you an exercise, pay attention. Make a decision to become one with what you want. That's what a Rosh is teaching you. That's what I'm explaining here. Now look it. We're only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. That's the only limits we got. Now, there's two things you must know if you're going to live your dream. Not too difficult. One is where you are, and the other is where you're going. And then you got to get going there. Now, this is so simple. It's so obvious. Why do most people miss it? I want you to think. Come back here, Tommy. Listen, think about this for a moment. If you study statistics, go to the actuarial department of any of the large insurance companies. They've got all these down pat. And all these people deal with those numbers. Drive me crazy, but that's what they do. And they will point out to you that there's only 5 or 6% of all the people who are financially independent. 5 or 6 out of 100. 90-some% are struggling. They're having trouble making ends meet. And yet, this is a simple secret. Know where you are and where you're going. It's so simple. Most people say, well, they mustn't have goals. Well, some of them do. Some of them do. And that's what I used to think the problem was. But I found out the problem is right here. Here's where the problem is: where you are. You see, where you are is controlled by the paradigm. The paradigm is that demon that has us locked into where we are. This is so obvious as you start studying this. Now, this is really a black and white situation. It doesn't matter how hard you work or how many hours you put in. If the paradigm does not change, the results will ultimately remain much the same from one year to the next. And that's the way people go through life. It's rather sad, but it's true. Now let's take a look at the areas of your life your paradigm has enormous influence over. It has an enormous influence over your perception. That's how you see things. It controls how you see anything. Your perception controls your use of time. Do you know that everybody gets exactly the same amount of time? We get all there is. So it's what we do with our time that makes a difference. You hear about time management programs. You can't manage time. Time cannot be managed. All we can manage is activities. So start managing. Forget about trying to manage time. Manage activities. Okay? Your creativity, your paradigm controls the creativity. Now, we're all creative. We got this awesome paradigm controls the creativity. Now, we're all creative. We got this awesome power locked up within. But we've got a lock on it. That's called a paradigm. It controls your effectiveness. And your effectiveness, we know, controls your productivity. Let's suppose you're a salesperson and you just shift one thing, make an enormous difference in your life. Now, logic. You know, there's certain people, if they had let logic control them, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. Let's take the Wright brothers. If the Wright brothers had let logic controlled, we'd have never been introduced to the area of flight. Here's two young bicycle mechanics in Dayton, Ohio, in the United States. Way back 1903, they introduced us to the kingdom of flight. If they had let logic control them, they'd have never done it. Because logic said anything heavier than air is attracted towards the center of the world. You can't use it. Now here's another one. Logic controls your ability to earn money. That's one I know you want to change. Well, look at this. This is very important. When you think about this, it's like there's a wall around you. Do you see that wall? Well, the second you make up your mind you're going to change the paradigm, the wall comes down. But while you're trying to operate without changing it, you go to move in any of these areas and you'll hit the wall and bounce back. It won't work. But when you knock that wall down, you can take any of these areas and really improve. Now look, let's look at this closely. If you say, I'm going to change just one area, just imagine how your entire life would change as you begin improving any or all of these areas. The change is huge, and I'll tell you something else, and it's permanent. Quite interesting. Now look here. Let's suppose you just worked at changing your perception. Do you know that would probably multiply your income? If you just worked at changing your perception, I don't care what it is you're looking at. Get looking at it from another point of view. That's how the world's improved. People changing their perception of something, and they see something different. Your ability to earn money will change dramatically. That's what Buckminster Fuller was talking about. He says, you don't change things by fighting existing reality. To change something, you have to build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. That's what they did with the phones. Think about how the existing model is gone, okay? Now, most people are extras in their own movie. I want you to think. You've got a movie. You are in the movie. But you're an extra because you see somebody else as the star. All of life is a stage. I think Shakespeare put that very well. All of life is a stage. You and I are playing our part in this movie called life. Why would you make somebody else the star? Why wouldn't you be the star in your movie? It makes sense, doesn't it? And it just makes sense. Okay? Now think. What do you really want? That's the big question. What do you really want? You've got to become the director of your life. You've got to say, wait a minute, I want to take charge. This is my life. I am going to control it. If you do that, you're going to find everything will begin to change. You are a massive energy and you function on frequencies. You do. And as you change the frequency, you're going to change everything that comes into your life. As you alter that frequency, everything will begin to change. You've got to realize that this is the way it works. But you are a massive energy. Don't treat this lightly. This is very, very big. As you change your energy. See, I guess you could say, I was going to say lost. I was lost. I really was. A man named Ray Stanford gave me this book, and he gave me some direction. He said, do exactly what I'm telling you. Do you know, I was 26. I had never done what anybody told me. I didn't believe I could have whatever I want. He said, you can have anything you want. I did not believe that. But I believed he believed it. Why did I believe that? Well, just blow this up again, Tom. Now think for a second. I want you to imagine that this is Ray Stanford. And he's telling me that. That thought and his mind focused on it, it causes energy to leave his body. It ripples. My mental faculty, intuition would pick that up. Let's say I don't even understand. Thanks, Tommy. Let's suppose I don't even understand what's happening. But those waves are going out. Intuition picks them up, and it registers a truth in my mind. I just believed him. I believed him. He said, do exactly what I tell you. My goodness, I went from earning $4,000 to earning $12,500 a month. Have you any idea how much money that was in 1961? Figure it out. Go to your computer, you'll figure it out. It's an enormous amount of money. How did it happen? Change the vibration, change the frequency. Now look here. Let's take a look. Keep going back, same thing. Conscious, subconscious. Now look at, we see here smell, taste, touch. We've got these sensory factors. All there. It picks up stuff from outside. Do you want to know something? That's how most people are controlled. They're controlled by what's going on outside of them because it comes in through their senses into their conscious mind. They don't understand they're being controlled by a paradigm. See, the paradigm's in the subconscious. It's controlling them just to pay attention to what they see outside. Because that's what the paradigm says. It's the outside world controlling us. Now, it's the intellectual factors that has the ability to change the paradigm. We've got all these higher faculties here, but we don't know how to use them. Nobody's taught us how to use them. So the paradigm's there in the emotional mind, but we don't know how to change it. You know why? Because we never learned how to use those. And it's the emotional mind that causes the vibration we're in. The vibration we're in dictates what we attract. You got to keep studying this. Now look at. There's the intellectual mind. There's the emotional. And what did we say? We said the emotional mind controls the vibration. The emotional mind controls the vibration because that was where the paradigm is. The paradigm's in the subjective mind, and it controls the vibration we're in. So that controls what we attract. Then it moves us into an environment where the energy is all the same as the paradigm. You don't find wealthy, highly productive people hanging out with people that are having a difficult time finding work. They're not there. You're going to find people are attracted to people that are in harmony with them. It's not only the paradigm. Back it up for a moment. The emotional mind controls the vibration we're in. The vibration we're in dictates what we attract. Well, the emotional mind is where the paradigm is because it was wide open as a child. Have you ever noticed most of your activities are much like your parents? Well, you not only attract from the vibration, you are literally moved into an area where the emotional, where the intellectual mind is picking up the conversation and all the dead end talk that's going on because you're attracted to those people. It's rather sad. Understand this. When paradigms stay in control, nothing changes. You're trying to change your life? You got to start to understand these frequencies, these control factors. Now let's look at this. This is really interesting. Control the flow of thought energy. Let it flow freely to and through you, improving everything with which you come in contact. This is very important. A frequency is a level of vibration. Now stay tuned in here. Really lock into what I'm going to tell you. All right? A frequency is a level of vibration. There is an infinite number of frequencies. There's no end to them. There's just an infinite number. Everything operates on a frequency. All the trees, the plants, the bricks, the animals, the people, everybody operates on a frequency. Now, every frequency is connected to the one above and the one below. You say, why do you have to know this? You don't have to know it. But I'm going to tell you something. When you do, your whole world starts to change. Every frequency is connected to the one above and one below. I'm not making this stuff up. This is stuff I've studied over the past 60 years. It's helped me earn millions of dollars, build a company that operates all over the world. It put me onto a frequency that attracted what I desperately needed. I knew how to earn money. I didn't know how to look after it. Now think of that. Sounds silly, doesn't it? I know how to earn it. I didn't know how to look after it. I could bring it in. I attracted a partner who was a securities attorney. She quit her practice to join us in this company. She's the CEO and president of the company. She's my business partner. She really understands it. How did I attract it? Because it got in that frequency. Okay, now look at. Let this X represent where you are. I'm going to say all the black is time and space. The X represents where you are. Okay? Take an honest look at where you are in your life, and you can see how you got there. You got to be honest with yourself. You take an honest look. You can go back, and you can see each one of these frequencies represents a time of your life. So you can see everything that's happened in the past, but you don't know how to get to where you want to go in the future. Because when you look out in the future, it's all dark. You don't know how to get there. There's no book telling you how to get there. But you want to know something? We just let it fade. We let it fade. What we should realize is that X, it's what's going to inspire us. That's the goal. Doesn't matter whether you've been to school. Doesn't matter whether you got the degree. Doesn't matter what's happened in the past. If you understand how to get to that X, that's the dream. Now pay attention. Really pay attention to me. Look here. This is so important. Okay? To move to a higher frequency of thought, you must first consent. That's that higher frequency. You know the X that's out in the black, in the dark? That's a higher frequency. Now to get there, you got to first consent. I can't put you there. I couldn't move you there. It doesn't matter. There's nothing that will enable me to do that. And then when you get there, you got to adapt to the ideas and the feelings the new frequency represents. At the suggestion of a move, your paradigm instantly puts up a huge battle. And it will continually fight you. You must take conscious control over the paradigm, remove and replace it. See, there's something in your mind that will stop you from going there. It does not want you to improve, doesn't want you to change anything. Now here you are here, come back. You'll say, that's my dream. That's my dream. Don't let it fade. Bring it back. Look at, understand this. Your dream has its own frequency. It's got its own frequency, and you can go there. You got to get on that frequency. Now look here. He'll put it very well. This photograph right out of my book, out of this book here. He said there's a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. No one's ready for a thing until they believe they can acquire it. The state of mind must be belief and not mere hope or wish. Open-mindedness is essential for belief. Closed minds will not inspire faith or belief. Courage and belief. You got to get it. You got to get it. Now look here. You got to believe. Wishing, hoping, it isn't going to cut it. Gosh, I wish this would happen. I hope it happens. Forget that. You've got to believe. Now, I found that your belief system is based upon your evaluation of something. The more you reevaluate a situation, come back. You'll say, that's my dream. That's my dream. Don't let it fade. Bring it back. Look at, understand this. Your dream has its own frequency. It's got its own frequency, and you can go there. You got to get on that frequency. Now look here. He'll put it very well. This photograph right out of my book, out of this book here. He said there's a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. No one's ready for a thing until they believe they can acquire it. The state of mind must be belief and not mere hope or wish. Open-mindedness is essential for belief. Closed minds will not inspire faith or belief. Courage and belief. You got to get it. You got to get it. Now look here. You got to believe. Wishing, hoping, it isn't going to cut it. Gosh, I wish this would happen. I hope it happens. Forget that. You've got to believe. Now, I found that your belief system is based upon your evaluation of something. The more you reevaluate a situation, the easier it is to believe it. Why do you think I got into this? How do you think I started to believe it? It was the repetition of listening over and over and over. I want to show you something. See this here? This is a book holder. I got this book open. It's the creative process of the individual, and it's the starting point. It's by Thomas Troward. I've been reading these same pages now for a little over 70 days. They're on a book holder. See this book holder? Yeah. Well, we found a place where you can buy those now. I was in Earl Nightingale's office in 1966. I went to have a visit with him. I got an hour of his time. And he had this on his desk, and I said, well, what is that? And he said, a book holder. I said, well, why do you have it? He said, hold the book open where I'm reading it. And I said, yeah, but you got to move those things then before you can turn the page. He said, I don't want to turn the page. I want to read the same pages over and over again. And he said, I keep reading them till I find myself doing them. That was in 1966. I started to do that with book holders. I've had many. This is the best book holder I've ever had. You'll see it's a phenomenal instrument. Now we're going to do a mailing on this, so you want to get one. You want to get one and put it on your desk and take something where you really want to program it into your mind. That's what I've done. And that's what will help you change your belief. That's how belief comes. He says there's a difference. And then he pointed out, that we can get there. Now, Steve Jobs gave us a good tip. First of all, he said there is a place. You got to understand that. Hoping and wishing doesn't do it, but understand this. No more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity, than is required to accept misery and poverty. It doesn't take any more energy. It's the same energy you're using. The moment you believe, your belief matches with any state, you fuse with it. And this union results in the activation and projection of its plots, plans, conditions, and circumstances. Now that happened to me. I built it, I fused with it, that became who I was. This state of conscious awareness becomes your home from which you view the world. That's how you change your life. It's your workshop. And if you're observant, you're going to see outer reality shaping itself upon the state, the model of your imagination. Now look here. Steve Jobs put it very well. He said, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect as you're going forward. Now that's what Arash is talking to you about. This is simple stuff. It's simple not to use it. Now look it. When you set the X as the goal, say, I'm going there. You don't know how, but believe and just keep going. And you'll get there. Now, when you get there, you'll say, damn, I could have gone there. There's no end to where you can go. Now, we back this up a bit. Arash Usagi is a millionaire. He's a very happy family man. He has a very good personal life. He's one of the most valuable people I've ever worked with. He is giving you direction. He listens to all this that I'm teaching, and he takes what I'm teaching, and he'll give you direction. And you know what's going to help you do? It's going to help you close the gap between where you are and where you want to go. Pay attention to the guy. He knows what he's talking about. He takes these lessons to heart. He lives them. Mikey, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Bob. And I really hope everyone had a pen and a piece of paper out, because I was taking notes over here. I took pages of notes. And if you didn't get a chance to take notes, I really encourage you to take advantage of the replay period, which is only until Monday at midnight Eastern. So make sure you rewatch this, take notes, and then of course implement it, which Raj is going to help us with right now. So Raj, your biggest takeaways and an assignment for today. It's all yours.
All right, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Bob. What an amazing lesson. You know, I will tell you, when you guys are watching this replay over, if you just start with what Bob just did over the last 7 minutes, when he was talking about where you are to where you want to go with the lines of frequency, and you watch that over and over and over again. The reason I share that with you, I remember this was about 5 years ago. I said to myself, that's all I'm going to study. I'm going to study that 7-10 minute clip over and over and over. And I've watched it over thousands of times now. Now, you may think, oh, why do you keep watching it over? See, your paradigm does not want you to repeat things over and over again. It will say, come on, I know this. Now, remember what Bob said here. He said, if you don't change your paradigm, nothing will change. I want you guys to get that. Right now, you have really good paradigms and you have the paradigms you want to change. The paradigms you want to change are essential because whatever paradigm you're operating with is what you're attracting to you. Now we always got to go back to, okay, first thing is, what is it that I really want? Now, I have a question for everybody. Do you really know what you want? And I want you to be honest with yourself, because that is the starting point. You know, Bob always taught me there's two things you need to know. You need to know where you are and where you want to go. Well, where we are is very important, so we can be honest with ourselves of what paradigms do I want to adjust? What paradigms do I want to elevate? Okay. And what paradigms do I want to really remove from my life and override it with an empowering paradigm? Let's say somebody wants to create freedom. The first paradigm that I would tell them to do is fall in love with the idea of freedom. That's got to be your dominating thinking. When you fall in love with it, that's what you're going to attract. Now, when we're talking about this, and I want you guys to really get this. Bob said this. I wrote this down yesterday and I wrote it again today because this is so key. He said, everything you want, once you become one with it, you will attract it to you. That's what Bob was just talking about, where you say, I am doing this no matter what. And you keep repeating that over and over again. Bob's going to play that record tomorrow that he used when he was first studying this. And he did it thousands and thousands and thousands of times. Why? Because it's the repetition of getting emotionally involved with an idea that you want to fall in love with. Now, first thing, I'll tell you guys a story. And this was such a big paradigm shift for me. Years ago, I had achieved something. And Bob said to me, you know, congratulations. And I said, oh, I wish I did this every day. And I always joke that you got to be very careful what you tell Bob because he catches everything. Anyway, he says, well, why don't you do this? I said, I don't know. He said, you just have to accept the idea. And I said, that's it? And he said, yes. And from that moment, I just started accepting every idea of what I wanted. Now, right now, you guys are accepting ideas. Are you accepting what you want or what you don't want? I want you to sell yourself on the idea of what you want, that it is done. You know, Bob, I don't know if you guys caught it. Bob talked about where he said a story about how he fused with the idea of what he wanted. Well, that's what we're talking about. When we're fusing with it, we're becoming one with it. And remember, when you permit your present results to control your thoughts, you can improve any goal you want to accomplish. If I want to accomplish a goal, I have to match my paradigm with that goal. And that's why when Bob was talking about you have to become one with what you want. Well, how do you become one with what you want? You first have to accept that idea that this is yours and you fall in love with that idea. I keep repeating, fall in love with the idea, because when you fall in love with it, you get emotionally connected to it. And when you're emotionally connected to it, it's going to keep moving you even when it doesn't look great, even though when your present circumstances are telling you something else. And I want you to get this. An aware person is thinking into results no matter what. I want you to really understand that. I want you to discipline your mind. Discipline your mind only thinking of what you want, okay? Now, we talked yesterday that you must match the frequency of what you want. So today, I put in a couple of action steps that I think you guys are gonna really enjoy doing, okay? And so what we wanna do is, yesterday we got you to write the script, okay? I wanted you to open up your mind, open up your heart, remove the scarcity, and think about what is it that I really want. Now today, what I wanna do is I want you guys to write out what you want. What is your goal in the present tense? Let me give you an example. Let's say somebody wants to improve their income to $50,000 a month. Let's say they're at 10,000 or 5,000. You know, it doesn't matter where they're at, but where they want to go. Write it out. For example, I am so happy and grateful now that I am earning $50,000 or more every month, and I love it. I am happy, healthy, and wealthy, and it is done. Now, when you do that, I want you to become one with it. That's matching the frequency of what we're talking about. And I want you to repeat it in front of the mirror for 5 minutes. I want you to literally do it for 5 minutes. And I want you to put your biggest takeaway. I promise you in the beginning, and I want you to do it with emotion, but in the beginning, your mind's going to say, well, what am I doing? Come on, why is this? Trust me on this. When you work the ideas work. You know, I want to go back to this real quick. Bob said, how did I change my belief? He said the repetition of repeating things over and over and over again. The repetition of doing things over and over and over again. So what we want to encourage you is the repetition of focusing on what you want, the repetition of living on that frequency of what you want and becoming that person. And then what I'd love for you to do is tag your success advisors and tell them how this experience was. Now, I want to warn you, if you're just doing it to check a box, it's not going to work. Don't just say, I'm so happy and grateful. I want you to get in the emotion of it. The emotion is going to transfer this idea. And I will tell you, your birthright is what you want. It is deep inside of you, ready to come out. You know, and we're going to be the conduit and really show you how to really create a massive, massive jump in your life this week. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys really enjoyed this lesson today. And Tommy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Arash. Hello, everyone. Tommy Collier here again, and I am very happy to be here with you to close this out again today. Shout out to everyone watching over on YouTube. Hello. We are so glad you are tuning in with us. Now, you are more than welcome to stay where you are and keep watching on YouTube this week, but we want to invite you to register for the training on our website so that you can receive all of the benefits of this training if you want. So feel free to register if you would like. The link is in the description below this video. Okay, Facebook folks, Arash just gave us a really powerful assignment, and I want to encourage you to dive into it right away. Remember, watching Bob's lessons is only one part of the work this week. If you really want to change your paradigm, it is essential that you put time and attention into these powerful homework assignments. Doing these assignments each day will truly make the difference for you between just coming here to be entertained or showing up to be transformed, which is what we all want. Okay. Now, tomorrow's training is going to be another fantastic lesson for you, so be back here at 11 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, or you can catch the replay, of course. And we have so much more amazing content still coming this week, including some special guests and an exclusive announcement for you on Thursday, plus a full hour Q&A with Bob on Friday, so you don't want to miss any of that. Stay tuned with us all week, okay? Now we have a lot of new people who have just joined us, so I want to reiterate a few housekeeping items for you before we sign off. You can find the replay for today's broadcast and all of the trainings this week under the Guides section of the Facebook group. The Guides tab is found at the top menu of the group, and that is where everything important to this training can be found this week. To see a full schedule for the week, check out the Events section of this Facebook group. also in the top menu. There you will find an event posted for each of the live sessions. Click that you are attending each of those events and you will receive a reminder alert leading up to the start of the broadcast. You will also be able to see the start times in your own time zone, which is helpful using those events. If you have not made contact with your PGI Success Advisor yet or don't know who your advisor is, first of all, make sure you've registered for the training on our website. After you register, you will receive an email letting you know who your advisor is. Make sure you check your spam or promotions folders if you have not seen that email. And if you've done all that and you still don't know who your advisor is, you can go ahead and choose your own advisor. Just go to the guide section here. It's guide number 2, where it says meet your PGI staff success advisor, and you can choose someone from our team that you resonate with. Just send them a message and they will be your success advisor. Now, please know that Mikey Stiller and I are not success advisors, so you can't choose us, but pick someone there from our success advisor team that you see there in the guide section. They are all super qualified and just amazing human beings, every single one of them. And so any one of them would be more than happy to help you, okay? Now, if you haven't already, make sure that you introduce yourself here in the group, post a photo. We want to know where you're from and what you're working on this week. We are creating a really cool, amazing community here, and we just want to get to know as many of you as we possibly can before the week is over. The replay for today will be available as soon as we stop the broadcast, and I want to let you know